What's up, everybody? So I've been filming this 5-lug conversion for about 2 weeks now, and been having some trouble getting the right parts. I had a lot of stuff already, and then I just kind of had to fill in the blanks to figure out what else I needed. So you used to be able to go on the, what was it called, the Mighty Ram 50 website, and it's a forum, and it had a forum post on there that explained the right combination of Toyota parts in order to basically bolt up to the front of the truck. And those posts are not there anymore. There's a lot of links to them, but they don't exist. I went on the Wayback Machine, couldn't find them. Found a couple links to like Mini Truck magazine website and stuff like that, and just none of the stuff exists anymore. Did some of the Wayback Machine searches on those, and I can get them, but without pictures. And just been trying to figure out what combination of rotors and hubs will make this thing bolt up to the truck. So I think I have it all figured out, and I got enough parts here where I can kind of give you a demonstration. Yeah, so let's look at that so you won't have to go through the trouble I did. And after I tell you this, you may go and Google it and be like, oh, well, this forum post right here tells you, the right way to do it. But the problem is, if you don't already know, there's a lot of forum posts with a lot of different answers, and some of them say you need to machine stuff, some say some certain years will bolt up, and yeah. So anyways, I got all the parts here. Let's take a look at them. So first off, this hub and rotor is from like a 79 Toyota. I think it's from maybe 72 to 83 or something like that. And this rotor will bolt up to the truck. It'll bolt up no problem, bearings fit, everything. This hub. But the problem is this rotor. It's a little thin, solid rotor. So I mean, I think if you were to try to run that, your brakes would fall off. The brake pads would fall off once they wore down. But it doesn't matter, because with this combination right here, it's nowhere near lining up, and it's not where you can just shim it and make it line up. You would actually have to machine some surfaces in order to make this work. So if you're going to do a big brake conversion, and put like a more modern type rotor on here that goes from the front, these would work perfectly fine. And these seem to always be available on eBay for pretty cheap. So that's a good choice if you're going to go through that. A lot of times you have to machine this down to make the rotors that you choose to use, the bigger rotors, if you want larger rotors to fit over this area. And this seems to be smaller than the later year. I'm not 100% sure on that, but so these would be a good choice in that. But as far as this direct bolt up, these will not work. And I already had this, I bought this years ago. I imagine I was, all those forum posts I was talking about were still available when I bought this truck and I bought these parts, and I assumed that that the initial plan was to do a big rotor conversion, because the Toyota rear end I had for this truck, I was in the process of converting it to disc brakes also. So here is a later year hub and rotor, and this is from I think 1988 to 97, kind of that range. As far as bearings and everything, these two hubs are identical. The difference in this one, so this older hub, the bolts bolt from the back, and on this one they bolt from the front. So I put this on there with this rotor on there, and once again, this rotor's too far back, so you'd have to machine something. It needs to move forward about 1/8 of an inch, so you can maybe machine 1/8 of an inch off the bottom of this rotor, of this hub, if you're interested in doing that, or something along those lines. But as far as direct bolt up, that won't work. But this hub is good. It works fine. So next, here is a rotor from like a 2000 Toyota Tacoma, and they actually have the same bolt pattern. In fact, I think that the 2000 Tacoma has the same hub. I don't have one, so I can't confirm that. So you may just be able to get a rotor hub combination off of like a 2000 Tacoma, but definitely this hub with that rotor, I think, is the way to go. So like a 2000 Tacoma and like a early 90s Toyota Helix hub. So yes, I think that's the combo. So if you look at these, like I said, with this one you needed about an 1/8 inch more. You can see that's not as high there. In fact, it's 5 millimeters, I think. So I'm going to bolt this on here and we'll put it on the truck and see if we finally have something that works. So I have the other 90s hub, hub with the matching rotor for it set up over here, and you can kind of take a look at what we're dealing with. So here it is on here, and everything looks fine. You know, everything tightens down, bolts up good. So here's the bracket for the brake caliper, and it will not fit in between the spindle and the rotor. So like I said, you could probably machine, probably the spindle would be the thing to machine if you wanted to make that work. Just machine this back 1/8 of an inch, but I already got them on the truck, so I don't want to do that. I wouldn't want to machine this. It's the threaded part. You'd probably be taking some strength away from your brakes. But anyways, let me go ahead and get this bolted together. I'm gonna put new see, I got over here new seal in the back of it, and I'll check the bearings out. All these bearings I think are the same from all these different ones, including the ones that came on the truck. So I'll find a good combination of bearings and put it together, and when I get it back, we'll bolt it to the truck and see how it lines up. Alright, so I'm gonna clean all this up and repack it. But it comes with a nut and a washer. I don't know if these will fit on the spindle. I think they're too small, but we can use the one that went on the truck if not. And this bearing, clean it up and see how it looks. So for the seal on the back, we have to get this old one out. Don't really know of a good way to do that other than kind of destroying it. Because they just get some channel locks. Man, these channel locks suck. Should throw them away and get some new ones. Okay. Just usually get them and then kind of bend back like that, and they come up just a little bit, and work it around until it comes out. Just like that. Okay, so I'm going to clean these up and see how they feel. Actually feels pretty good. Getting the parts washer. Alright, so the number one question on the parts washer. Does the pump still work since I have solvent in it instead of, I don't know, purple power or whatever they think they put in it? Yeah, it still works fine. No issues there. I think that video was like had to be 3 or 4 years ago now. So I don't use it every day, but I use it probably monthly, and the pump's certainly been sitting in it. I haven't had any issues with it. Works every time. Alright, so I got the bearings cleaned up pretty good, and I cleaned most of the grease out of here, so I'm going to repack it. There's a little area in here you can just kind of fill it up with grease. It allows it to have plenty in there for the bearings, and we'll pack some more in there when we put it together. So the bearings are clean. I ran them in there and turned them, and they feel fine. So I need to, and I've blown these out with the air blower. from the air compressor and just kind of roll them with some grease on your hand and work the grease into the bearing. Just kind of keep doing that for a while. It's a messy job. Alright, that's in there and that feels good. I'll put a little bit of grease around the edge here to help the seal go in. Clean my hands a little bit. So here's the new seal. It goes in with the spring side down. So one other thing to point out, this is pretty much true with any brake stuff. When you have the machine surface here that the brake pads go on, it'll rust, so whenever they package it, they put a light coating of oil on it. So you need to make sure that you clean that off with some brake cleaner before you drive the vehicle. So I'll do that after I kind of get this put back together and put it on the truck. It's getting grease on all the surfaces so it doesn't nick anything whenever we slide it onto the truck. It's good to have a really nice dirty oily rag for this. You don't want to mess up your good rags. You can go through a roll of paper towels pretty quick. So I'm going to get something and hammer down on that a little bit and just make sure it's seated, and then we'll go stick it on the truck. Alright, so I think I said this in the last video, but basically you snug this all the way down to seat the bearings real good, and then you just kind of loosen it a little bit and turn it. You don't want any, play in the rotor, but you don't want it tight either. You just loosen it up a little bit and then get it where you can line up and put a carter pin in. And that should be good to go. So I've been to this point probably 5 times now trying different things. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this will fit back there. It finally does. Okay, so you can see here the problem that we have now is that right here, the little clip that holds the brake pad in is almost rubbing against this surface. And if you look on the back, you can't see it, but there's like an 1/8 inch gap. So basically this needs to get shimmed out just a little bit. I think only like a 1/16 of an inch, but I'm gonna go ahead and bolt this down so that I can take a proper measurement with some calipers. So all you got to do is just find a washer and put it on the back of here, between here and the spindle when you bolt it on, just to space it over a little bit, and then everything will be good to go. So I think this is the magic combination. So I finally had that. So 2000 Tacoma and like a 94, 95 two-wheel drive pickup front hubs. That combination definitely works. So kind of the last step with the caps, just to fill it up with some grease. And that way the bearing has plenty of grease. I think that whenever you drive this, the bearings warm up and the grease kind of becomes liquid, kind of sloshes around there. That may not be right, but you just kind of make sure there's enough in there so that if it does that, it can have plenty to lubricate everything. And just tap that on with a rubber mallet. it's got the grease seal now, so it doesn't want to go on. It's like airlocked, especially since we have the new seal on the back of it. But get my hands cleaned up. Once you get it on there, it'll stay. You know, that's really not going on there. I wonder if that nut's hitting it or something. Give it a little more encouragement. Nah, it's just got an airlock in there, so we'll let it sit for a minute and push it the rest of the way on. Alright, so that's what our gap's looking like. Get you off the stand so you can see. Okay, so there's the gap. So it's bigger on this side than on this side, but it's not hitting it. You know, it still spins. It would work like this. I imagine you'll occasionally rub on something, but so anyway, let me look through my washers and see if I can find some 4 that are the same that'll space that to closer to the center. I found these washers. They're 16-inch thick, which I think will be about perfect. The hole's a little small in the middle, so I'm going to bring out the 1/2 inch with a really dull drill bit on the lathe, because I don't get to use the lathe a whole lot. So let's see how this goes. Looks like that'll work. Alright, so here's the bracket that holds the caliper on. So these washers are going to go here and here, which will bring the caliper out this way. So it'll be a little bit difficult to put in there, but that's where they go. In fact, I'll put them on off camera and we'll be back. Alright, so now it's centered about perfect. And look how close that comes. You see that? That's tight. Doesn't hit though. So, finally have this thing put together where it's usable. So I'm going to put the brake calipers back on it. I need to replace this brake line and do the other side, and then we'll work on the back. So, for the back, like I said, I have a Toyota rear, and I'm not going to do that right now. It's kind of a lot of work. I bought these. They are a 2-piece wheel adapter, so a 6 lug on the back and 5 on the front. And you take it apart, you bolt this bottom half to the truck, and then you bolt that on top. The problem with these is 2 inches is a lot, so they're not going to look funny or anything like that. I already have one on the truck. I kind of did a test fit. So the rim comes about even with the side of the truck, so it'll look fine, but it definitely wouldn't tuck. So it's not close to tucking right now, since we only did a 3-inch drop in the back. But when we go lower, we're going to have to do the Toyota rear end. But this will buy me some time so I can drive the truck. The main thing is getting the front working. So anyways, tomorrow I had to order some tires. So tomorrow tires are supposed to be in. And hopefully we can put the wheels back on here. But I think that's all there is to it. Like I said, there's no reason to show you putting the brake caliper back together, but I'll bring you back when we get some wheels And the last thing we'll have to do, and so we put drop spindles on here, and what that did is I believe the steering linkage here came up a little bit from the original spindles, which brought the steering out, so both of the wheels are towed in. So we're going to have to break this nut loose here and adjust the adjust the steering angle. So the way I'm going to do that is to adjust both sides. We're going to actually, normally this thing spins. I don't see where it can do that here. I wonder if you have to break this ball joint back loose and actually turn it to get it to line up. You may have to. So yeah, we'll figure that out. So I have to do an alignment job. So basically just gonna put a straight edge of some sort on this wheel. I need the wheel to do it, and it has to be sitting on the ground. Put like a straight edge on this wheel and a straight edge on that wheel, and then just measure on the straight edge on each side of the tire until I'm just gonna go for getting them both perfectly straight. Yeah, I think you can go perfectly straight, or you can toe them in just a little bit. You don't want them out, because then you'll have handling issues. But perfectly straight probably will reduce wear at the cost of maybe a little bit of tightness in the wheel, but it's a low rider, so we want to reduce wear as much as we can on the tires. So that's what I'll do, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, it's some time later and we're finally getting somewhere. So I got the new brake line on here. Got my shims behind the caliper bolted on. Got a 1-inch spacer here, and that's just because my 17's come really close to that ball joint there for steering. So hopefully that'll keep that rim space away a little bit. That's all good. I did the other side. I went ahead and put the adapters on the back. Got some tires for the rims. So this one's on there. You can see how much that sticks out. So I think it'll be about even with the bed, but it definitely won't tuck like that. So over here you can see how the adapters work. I got to get 2 more lug nuts on here, but there's that part with the 6 lug that bolts onto the truck, and then you put this on there, and you put these screws in here, and that plate has the 5 lug on it. So that's how you convert the 6 lug to 5 lug. And up here I have the other side done. So I need to bleed my brakes. I bought this thing from Harbor Freight years ago, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think it'll work here. You basically just clip this onto the little bleeder thing on the calipers, and then this hooks through the air compressor. You pull the trigger and it sucks fluid into the little reservoir there. You just do it until there's no bubbles in the line. This thing right here clips onto the master cylinder and just keeps brake fluid in the master cylinder so you don't run out where you're pumping it out. I've never used this before, but I might try it this time. So it comes with these little threaded caps here. I got one on there. I'm pretty sure this is upside down. I'm not really sure how these work. I don't have the instructions anymore, but I would think that this goes the other way and it fits down into the hole for the cap, but this has a pretty big cap. So I'm thinking if I do it that way, I can just kind of balance it in there. And you know those like pet feeders for like rabbits and stuff? I think this works like that. You just put fluid in here, open up the valve, and it just keeps the level probably even with the, I don't know, the bottom of that where it comes out or something. I don't know. We'll give that a try and see if it works. If not, at least I can just open that valve and close it easy. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna work. I'm just gonna pour fluid in there. Just top it off because it's gonna go down as we bleed it. Alright, so the little bleed fitting's loosened, and I got the air hose hooked to this. It says max 120 psi, so I got it set around 100. So just pull the trigger. See fluid coming through there. Probably kind of hard to see. It's kind of clean. feel it. Sorry, the compressor cut on. So you'd think you could go until the fluid kind of goes smooth, goes solid, and there were no bubbles, but I think it sucks air from around the fitting right there. So all we had to do was get fluid through that line right there. It didn't really leak any. So I'm just going to kind of keep doing it for a little while, and then it should be good. Alright, so I think those are probably bled. The next thing you need to do is prepare for aligning this thing. So I'm going to have to break that jam nut there loose, and I'm going to break this ball joint again. So to do this side, you just have to take the ball joint out and spin it a few times. If you're just, let's go look at the other side. Alright, so you see this side actually has like a bar, and it's got a jam nut on each side. So if you break both of those loose, you can turn it one way and it'll pull the ball joint into the steering rod, and if you do it, spin it the other way, it'll push it out. So that's actually how you align one side to the other. But since we dropped it, it's so far off that if I were to align it that way, the steering wheel wouldn't be straight. So what I'm going to try to do is straighten the steering wheel with it up in the air here, or maybe when we drop it down, and try to get the tire on the other side straight with the steering wheel in the center. Just kind of eyeball it, and then I'll go ahead and put that ball joint back together and stuff, and then we'll come to this side and actually align this tire to that side, and that, I mean, that'll align it straight, but at least the steering wheel will be pretty close to center. So what I've done is I've broken that jam nut loose, and I've broken this ball joint. I just have this on there finger tight. So I'm going to put this rim on here. I've already got the steering wheel centered, and when we put it down, I can pull this off, straighten the rim out, and then just kind of rotate this. I don't know if I showed any of that. Set the truck down and straighten the wheel out just to where it kind of looks straight, and then pull this out and put a couple turns on it or whatever to try to get it to line up so that the wheel's pretty straight on this side, and that's the best we're going to do there. And then over on this side, took some time to clean this up because it was really nasty, but I broke this jam nut, the one on the other side, and now you can rotate this, and like I said, if you rotate it one way, it pulls the brake assembly out, and if you do it the other way, it brings it in like that. So once we get the other side kind of straight, then we'll try to parallel this wheel with that wheel over there. Well, there's the truck sitting down on the wooden boards. I used to get it on the lift. And I'm going to do this alignment here. I'm not really going to be able to show you anything. Hopefully you got what I was doing from what I showed you before. But you can see I've got the steering wheel centered right now, and this wheel is towed in. I don't know what a good angle to show you. It's towed in slightly, so it's pointing to the left. But over here, it's pointing to the right. So got the steering wheel centered. First thing I'm going to do is monkey with the one on the right side and try to get it pretty straight, you know, visually. And that'll determine if the steering wheel's straight when you're driving straight. It'll probably be off a little bit. Nothing I can really do about that, but keep playing with it. But once I get there, I'm basically going to get something to use as a straight edge and put it across the wheel right here, and do the same thing on the other side. So I'll put something across the wheel right here, just like a piece of 2x4 or something. And I'll use a tape measure and go behind the wheel and measure from the 2x4 to the 2x4 on the other side. Then go in front of the wheel and measure from the 2x4 to the 2x4 on the other side. And I'll adjust the adjustment on the driver's side until I get the same number on the front and back. That'll put the wheel straight. So that's what I'm going to try. That's what I'm going to do. I've done it before. It's always worked good enough. Even if you're going to pay somebody to align this, you still have to do this because you have to drive to the alignment place, you know. When you get really low, you're probably not going to be able to find anybody to align it. But anyway, I'll do that and then we'll come back. Alright, well, alignment's done. See, the wheels look straight now. Guess you can tell. Steering wheel's turned now from lifting it and dropping it, but I, you know, put the ball joint back together on the other side, put a new carter pin in it, tighten up all the the jam nuts, and we'll go around with this wrench and hand tighten the lug nuts just to make sure they're tight, and get cleaned up, and we'll back it out. Well, there it is. I'm gonna have to take it for a test drive. It's definitely lowered. Like I said last video, it needs to be a lot lower, but we got a lot of work to do before we can do that. And first we need to rebuild this engine. So got some more work to do, so it might be a little while before I do the next video, but that's what to look forward to. Thanks for watching.